Roblox word games, a really simple game genre that has a strong player base, even though they don't seem to get updated quite a lot. And as I was scrolling through TikTok, I stumbled on this, where two people say one letter after the other, and whoever finishes the word wins. But wait, there's got to be someone who already made this into a game, right? No, there's no one. On day 1, I didn't lose any time and jumped straight to the action by making the word system. And the first thing I had to figure out is how in the world am I supposed to know if a word is real? Well, actually, there's two ways I can do this. I can either ask an external API to check if a word exists, or store a large module with every English word possible. And obviously, I chose the API because this was way easier, but quickly realized I couldn't tell if the word being built was possible to end. So I had no choice but to store every single English word in a large module. Oh my d! To do this, I did some digging and found this page. And as crazy as it sounds, there's actually people who put every English word possible in a large file. So big shout out to them, or this game would have been abandoned at the time I'm talking. However, I can't just copy paste it straight into my code because my script doesn't know what it means. In order for it to know, I need to do this. So what I did is ask ChatGPT to make a C# code that can convert a long string into a Lua table. And the reason I chose C# is because it is way faster than Lua. After, all I had to do is copy paste the output into my game and... okay, yeah, I'm cooked. The next day, I finally had all the English words added into my game, but some of them had to be removed because even though English is not my first language, you can definitely tell this is not a word, bro. What in the world is this? Afterwards, I started scripting the word system and this is what it looked like. As you can see, we can now type letters. If we look at the output, it gives one of the multiple next letters possible and it's gonna stop when there's no other words that can be formed. Now was the time to start the game system. Well, actually, that's a lie because the word system is already a big part of the game. But let me break this down to you. Here's how I want the game to look like. So just like on the TikTok, each player will have to pick one letter and pass on the current word to the next player. Players are gonna be placed around the table, but to spice up the gameplay a bit, everyone will have a gun and they will aim at the next player after their turn. And if the next player fails, they get shot. And everyone has 2 lives, by the way. In order to do this, I made a match class which is gonna handle every match in the game. And this class, I created a function that gets players' answer. And you can see a class kind of like a job that I give to my script. And the functions are basically the orders it's gonna have to do. So that's why I made a rotate function to rotate players' turns. I should function whenever someone loses a life. And finally, your average must-have functions most classes have. But then I remembered I had to filter the words. So I quickly implemented this into my game, but soon I'm gonna realize this is gonna be a big problem. But for now, trust. Okay. And the second week, it was time to start building because right now it's just polygons. Firstly, I made a cute little chair and a round table. Afterwards, I made a basic lobby and added some trees stolen from my old game. Normally, I was supposed to make something in the center, but I already wanted to take a break from building. So instead, we're gonna make a custom running animation. Yay! Why? I don't know, I just wanted to add this into the game, and since I made a lot of dunking animation for my 2D basketball game, I should be able to do this pretty easily, right? Well, after analyzing, understanding, and studying human body language, this is how the running animation looked like. But when you put it in the game, it looks like I had 3 glasses of alcohol, bro. So I scrapped up everything and ended up using the default Roblox running animation.
I lost one day because of this.
The next week, I started modeling the guns, and I didn't touch Blender in so long I forgot I was actually pretty decent at it. Then I had to make the last player aim at the current player with their weapon, and since I had no clue on how I was gonna do this, I tried to ask ChatGPT for help, but bro left me on red on that one, so I was on my own. However, I was able to find a post on the dev forum, and by simply replacing this with the player's head position, we can now aim at the current player. After I was done with this, I made 15 different camos for the guns. Now was time to design the UI, and to do so, I made a timer indicating how much time you have to answer. Then, I made X's indicating how many tries you have left. Just like in Minecraft, I made hearts to show how many lives you have. If you didn't know already, 80% of Roblox users are on mobile, so I made a virtual keyboard designed for the game only, and I did the same for console players. Also, if you flip your phone horizontally, the UI is still gonna look good, and it's actually really simple to code but tedious at the same time. And the final thing I made is a button to activate your ability, because in the game there's gonna be different style of players you can obtain with spins, and they each have their own unique poses and abilities. Afterwards, I made the main menu buttons with a little satisfying animation. But now's the time to make every single one of them actually work. So the first one already works because I spoiled you earlier, but the second one gets you to the shop, and here you can buy guns and camos. And don't worry, I'll add more stuff later on if the game succeeds. I also made a gift system because I noticed a lot of games have this. I made daily, weekly, and limited quests so players can get spins and money. I made a button to flex your stats, and finally, a setting button to change various things such as the keyboard layout. Okay, so remember when I told you I was gonna realize there's a big problem with filtering? Well, the time has come, and here's the issue. When the word gets filtered, the player has to answer a different letter, but I could already see people crashing out on this. So I had to find a solution, and the only one I found is by separating the game into two different game modes.
What?
Wait, hold on, let me show you. For the new game mode, instead of typing one letter at a time, each player will type a word, and the next player will have to type a word starting with the last player's last letter. Because if the word gets filtered, I can just take a different letter. But then later on, I also found a solution for the original game mode, and it's by selecting a random letter for the player if it gets filtered. On week 6, I finished the map by adding global leaderboards in the center, and if you didn't know this already, my game is a bit inspired by Rivals, not gonna lie. Then I made a simple tutorial and every icon I needed for the game. So I started cooking by removing the green screens in order to have different layers. Afterward, I spent so much time trying to find the right background, I just ended up using a screenshot and game. Finally, I made the color correction, and I'm not gonna lie, I just tweaked some values until it looks good. So here's how the game looks like on the Roblox page. These are the thumbnails, and I made 2 of them. So the game is now ready for release. I also tested the game with some of my testers and my friend, and they found a lot of bugs, as you can see. So yeah, now the game is ready for release, and let's just hope for the best. Now is the time to put my businessman suit on and promote the game. To do so, there are 2 main ways you can do this, with TikToks or sponsored ads, and they both have their pros and cons. TikToks doesn't cost anything and takes little to no time to make, but your game has to be intriguing enough in order for it to work. On the other hand, sponsored ads work for pretty much any type of game as long as it's fun to play. However, you need a really good thumbnail and enough Robux to keep it running for at least a week. In our case, Last Letter is a game that's not really intriguing, only fun to play. But I still tried to make a TikTok just to make sure I wasn't wrong. But just like I expected, it flopped, so we're just gonna use sponsored ads. Okay, so the ads started running and the game is starting to get a little bit of players. I was able to find some bugs on the game, but I was able to quickly fix them. But yeah, hopefully people are still gonna play the game. Hopefully they're gonna like it, and yeah. Okay, so I've got great news. So it's been 12 days since I released the game, and it now has 1000 active players and a good like ratio. Big thanks to my testers because the game didn't have a lot of bugs. I disabled the ads yesterday because the benchmarks of the game are good and it has also reached the algorithm. But little did I know that was only the beginning, because by the time I'm editing this, the game is currently at 16,000 active users, which is crazy. So I've been making weekly updates since, so if you wanna go play the game, it's gonna be linked down in the description. If you wanna support me, like and favorite the game. Also, use code 2DBallers to get 5 spins. And finally, go learn new words, have fun, and have a nice day.